Today on Locked On Women's Basketball, the Minnesota Lynx are heading into an extremely important month as they head into August as the WNBA's top dogs, but can they stay that for much longer? We're going to get into all things Minnesota Lynx. This is Locked On Women's Basketball.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Like I said, we are going to talk about the Minnesota Lynx. Of course, I'm Chelsea Leite, but I had to bring in my Minnesota Lynx truther, my guy, Terry Horstman, to come talk Lynx with me because we're getting, like I said, we're getting into an important stretch here for the Lynx. We're heading into August. Playoff push is starting, and everyone else is leveling up and are going to be trying to catch up with these Lynx as they currently have a few game lead here. But as we know in this WNBA, things can change very quickly. So we're coming into a fun weekend here for the Lynx. Terry, you were at shootaround this morning, so we're going to talk about that first. Then we're going to get into some exciting news about this show and the Lynx. We're going to preview the Minnesota Lynx and the Las Vegas Aces game tonight, and then we will preview the rest of the Friday night slate of games, which includes, of course, Paige Bueckers playing, as well as the New York Liberty playing against the Phoenix Mercury in that 2-3 matchup, which will be very exciting. So that is what we got going on the episode today. But Terry, you just came back from Minnesota Lynx shoot-around. Who won the money today?
Jessica Shepard won the money today in a heated battle between herself and Courtney Williams. The Lynx, of course, do a half-court shot for some amount of cash, as a lot of teams do. The amount depends on something that I'm not totally clear on. It kind of goes up and down. I think it depends on winning streaks and how well the team's doing. So this year it's gotten quite high at times. I was chatting with Alana Smith, who won it last shoot around, about it. And yeah, it went into a rapid fire shootout, and Jessica Shepard has a routine. It's like, if you're ever doubting how strong Jessica Shepard is, she basically shoots a free throw from the half court line. It's pretty incredible. Wild. And Courtney has a very set routine that it's a lot of dribbles and then one kind of like slam of the ball and a run up. So there's some controversy there of Jess in Courtney's way during the rapid fire portion. So I didn't get a chance to chat with either of them afterwards, but if I see them at the game tonight, we'll launch a full investigation into the legitimacy of the shoot around half court money shot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like these just started as like a fun way to practice your half court shots and try and add a little bit of incentive to them. But now I feel like, people's half court shots are just getting so good that it's getting to this like rapid fire point. And now it's all this thing about money and who's going to win this money. But yeah, it's
high stakes.
High stakes, of course. And I mean, I feel bad. Courtney just keeps losing money this week.
Yeah, she particular part of the Stud Bud stream of All-Star Weekend was pretty much the only time that the stream took a melancholy tone after she didn't win the skills challenge. So I think Courtney will be fine, and as long as they keep getting wins, I don't think she'll be too bummed out about anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it looks like they're headed on a crash course towards the WNBA finals, which is wild, but they have a game tonight. I mean, we're taking it game by game at this point. They have a game tonight against the Las Vegas Aces. So who'd you talk to at shoot around, and like, what was the general energy going into the game tonight?
Well, I talked to Natisha Heidemann because I wanted to get a clear update on the ankle injury she sustained on Tuesday night. Yesterday's practice, I talked to Coach Reeve, and she said she was a full participant and looked great. And then the ensuing injury report that came out didn't have Natisha's name on it. It just had Carly Samuelson, which we know is out for the year. And yeah, T was in good spirits today. She mentioned being a quick healer. And shout out to the Lynx training staff and Chuck Barta and Brandy Bluearm, who do a great job. And T also said, I'm a quick healer.
Yeah, we saw that. Got to get that IV.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think she's played in something over 200 consecutive games now. So a
Wow.
real Iron Woman. So I think Heidemann will be, good to go. And also I chatted with her a little bit about a game last year, kind of her earlier in the season, but it was her first sort of big high scoring game with the Lynx last year. She twisted her ankle before playing the Dallas Wings and then scored like 17 points in 17 minutes basically against the Wings in a game where the Lynx starters didn't have their usual offensive firepower. So it was a well-timed offensive explosion for her last year, and you heard it here. When T hurts her ankle, she scores a ton of points. So if
I
that
mean,
participate in prize picks or anything like that, look for the over-under on Atisha Heidemann points tonight.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, you also mentioned you talked to it was Lindsay Whalen as well.
Yes, talk to Coach Whalen. She hadn't seen her since the All-Star break, so I had to get her updates on Indy. She mentioned it being really fun, said it evoked kind of memories of this isn't the first time that Coach Reeve and the Lynx staff have been in that All-Star coaching slot. It's kind of a old hat around here. So they had a great time as a staff and being around several of the players that were there. And then I know we're going to get into the game tonight, but the only time the Lynx played the Aces earlier this year, Asia Wilson was not was out for that game, and V actually got hurt in that game too. So it was a little bit different than what you normally expect. See MVP candidates going head to head. So just talked about with her the different and compelling looks that Las Vegas can throw at you when they have their full complement of players available.
Nice. And I mean, like I said at the top of the show, like this is about to be an extremely important stretch for the Lynx as they face the New York Liberty a bunch of times in August. They're really going to have to, like literally a bunch of times, like 4 or 5 times they're playing them.
It's 4 times, and then for the Lynx, it's 3 straight games against the Liberty. I think the Liberty have one random game in there, but it's like, like, let's make this the regular season finals, I guess.
Sure. I was looking at that schedule yesterday, and that's just wild. But I mean, New York is obviously they were big in the news this week for signing Emma Miesemann. So like obviously they are trying to level up in response to how well the Lynx have been doing this year. Is there any sort of energy around the team in the sense that they might want to make some sort of a change to match that? Like I know the trade deadline is coming up. Last year they made the move for Maisha Hines-Allen. Have you felt any sort of indication that might happen again? Not necessarily for the same player, but in some sort of trade deadline move to level up.
Yeah, I definitely think they're looking to make moves somewhere, especially, in the post, because they were very interested in Emma Miesemann as well.
Yep.
I know that Emma was at a game, or I'm fairly certain Emma was at a Lynx game earlier this season. She's played with Kayla McBride and Nafisa Collier at Fenerbahce in Turkey. She played for Coach Eric Thibault. So I think the Lynx had a compelling pitch to make. And while Reeve was, quick to note that she hasn't, signed on the dotted line with New York yet, there's still a matter of, immigration things to be solved. But it did sound like she turned the page away from like, we're no longer in the Emma Miesemann sweepstakes. The Liberty will eventually win the battle for that signature. So I do think they are going to try and make a move. They made the decision to release Alyssa Peely on the mid-year deadline last weekend, about a week and a half ago at this point, which did give them not only roster spot flexibility, but also cap space flexibility. So, if you try and get too crazy with it, if you go like hunting for more star power, you would have to maybe include another player or a contract to make the money work. But I don't think they're going to stand pat. And we'll see. We got that deadline coming up August 7th. So these games, especially tonight and with Atlanta on Sunday, that's they've played the Dream already in Atlanta, but some teams with a lot of size that, will test the Lynx, as that's sort of the one area they're not the biggest team in the world. So we'll see if these games are in kind of enlightenment towards a trade possibility.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm always so curious to see what the Lynx do in terms of trades and stuff because their front office and scouting is so good, and every move that they
Mhm.
have made in the past few years has been really, really high level and has really had an effect. So they're definitely the team that I've been watching the most when it comes to the trade deadline and the possibilities of them making a move. But we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to fully preview the Las Vegas Aces versus the Minnesota Lynx and talk about what the next couple of days looks like for the Lynx in terms of games. So stay tuned. This is Locked On Women's Basketball. Have you ever decided to head to the last minute to the ball game with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you realize that you want to be in the stands, and that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. And Game Time makes it all possible. I mean, I'm here in Toronto right now, and obviously the Blue Jays are on such a great run. And so, you never know when you're going to have a free afternoon to go head to the Dome and enjoy a game. And so I love the fact that Game Time makes buying tickets so fast and simple. Prices on the app usually drop closer to the game, and they've got incredible last minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. So if I do decide I want to head to the Blue Jays game at any time, you can head to Game Time's zone deals and pick out the best seats in the best section. For me personally, I like to sit closest to where the food is because I'm going to get myself a hot dog or an ice cream in a hat. So that's what I prioritize when I am scrolling on Game Time for tickets. But take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use Locked On NBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, this is Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm Chelsea Leite, and I am joined by Terry Horstman, and we are talking about the Minnesota Lynx, who play tonight against the Las Vegas Aces. So, game tonight is, I believe, it's at home, obviously, because you're going. I was like, yeah. Yep, you're not in Las Vegas. You're in Minnesota. So, Minnesota Lynx are playing at home against the Aces, who just played last night against the Indiana Fever and lost. And night two of a back-to-back is already kind of an interesting situation when it comes to games, especially when one team is on the second half of one and the other team has had a few days of rest, which the Lynx have. And then you take in home court advantage. You take in the fact that the Aces have been struggling this season. And I mean, all of the signs are pointing to a Lynx win, but you never want to just take that and run with it. When it comes to the injury report, the Lynx have no injuries to report other than Katie or Carly Samuelson. I always get those two mixed up. Carly Samuelson is out as she is for the rest of the season. And on the Aces side, currently because it is a back-to-back, they don't really have any injuries to report at the moment. You'll probably get that closer to the game as they just played last night. So that is the just kind of facts going into the game. I'm curious what you think is going to be a big factor in this game. You previously talked about seeing Nafisa Collier and Asia Wilson be able to match up against each other, as Wilson was out of the last game and Fee ended up getting injured during the game against the Aces. But what are you looking for in tonight's game?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game for a lot of reasons. Ace is coming off of back-to-back. It's kind of the opposite of what July has been for the Lynx at this point. Going into the All-Star break, the Lynx had 11 games in 20 days. A handful of them camp days on the road, followed by a camp day the very next day. So I don't think the Lynx are going to feel bad for anyone that they're the team with a few days rest, playing someone coming off of a back-to-back. It's also the Lynx haven't seen the Aces since they acquired Nalissa Smith from the Dallas Wings, and so we'll see. They played the Chicago Sky like 1,000 times this month. It was actually 4, but it felt like 1,000.
Felt like 1,000.
And they really took care of business in the last 2 after a pretty disappointing loss in Chicago to the Sky, and the Sky are a team that are much bigger than the Lynx are. but the guard play was really lacking in Chicago, especially after Ariel Atkins got hurt. And the Aces have Chelsea Gray, they have Jackie Young, they have Jewel Lloyd, who I know got hurt last night but returned to the game. So I'm expecting them to have their full complement of talent available tonight. So it's going to be a pretty interesting game. I think last year the games against the Aces were really when Fee started to sort of cement herself as an MVP candidate in this league, at least to the people who weren't watching her every game, or who are kind of missing the Lynx, as the Lynx somehow don't get put on national TV or the primetime games as much as they should. And there was a game against the Aces last season in about June or so where Fee put up 27 points and 18 rebounds, and the Aces had 17 rebounds as a team. And Fee and Asia, you have two of the best players in the world out there. It's why people tune in, and it's going to be a battle. And the Aces, obviously struggling a bit this year. That wasn't a very good game in Indy last night, but they had won the last three prior to that, and they're obviously a much different team with Asia on the floor than when she's not. So I'm pretty excited just to see two of the best players in the world face off against each other, presumably at full health. And this is going to be a big game for a lot of reasons, as they're all big games. So I'm excited.
Exactly. I mean, I pulled up the Aces team statistics on her hoop stats, as well as the Lynx. And I mean, the Lynx obviously are first in the league in wins, number of losses, win percentage, etc. The Lynx are also second in the league in points per game at 84.9, and first in the league in opponent points per game, which means like they allow the least amount of opponent points per game at 74.7. And the Aces, I mean, last year that would have been switched, because now the Aces are 9th in the league in points per game and 9th in the league in opponent points per game. And I mean, like you said, the Aces have also been struggling when it comes to rebounds as well. They are 10th in the league in total rebounds per game at 33.4, while the Lynx aren't as high when it comes to that. They're still struggling when it comes to total rebounding, but not as bad as the Aces. And so there is a few of these statistical categories that I think the Lynx have the edge on when it comes to being able to just score more efficiently, being able to defend. I mean, we've all seen that the Aces have been struggling. And last night, I mean, when Becky Hammon does the thing where she takes all 5 of the starters out a few minutes into the game, you're like, oh, okay, it's going to be a rough night, because that's what she does when she's mad. And just kind of says, you know what, you're all done. I'm going to put the bench in and see if they can do any better. And if they do, then they get the minutes that night. And that's just kind of the way that Becky Hammon rolls.
That's not how it worked last night, though. I think
that's not how it worked.
Kristen Bell had 4 bench points, and that was it for the Vegas bench.
Exactly. So that it didn't work. The starters ended up going back in, but but it's interesting to think about. What I always think about with the Aces is, obviously my mind immediately goes to Asia Wilson. She's their MVP. She's one of the best players in the league. I mean, she's like top 2 in the league, and it's like her and Fee, and like, right? So, and like this season, I mean, Caitlin Clark's having a rough season. So before the people get mad at me, I'm just thinking about the season. Right. But anyway, but to me, it's like so frustrating. I mean, Asia Wilson is averaging about 22 points per game right now, 22.3. And the only person that's ahead of her is Nafisa Collier. And so you think about how you have a player putting up the second most points per game in the league, and yet your team is like 12-12 and struggling to stay in the playoffs. And it's like, okay, one, like, why isn't anybody helping the girl? I mean, you have Chelsea Gray, who's averaging 11.8. You have Jewel Lloyd, which, I mean, 10.9 points per game from what is supposed to be technically your second option isn't enough. You have Jackie Young, who's averaging 16.8 points a game, which is fantastic. But when Jewel Lloyd is only averaging 10, and then you have absolutely nothing coming from the bench. The depth has always been an issue with this Aces squad, but their starters have always made up for it. And so to me, it's just kind of like, why, like, what are we doing to make sure we're not wasting Asia Wilson's, prime years? Why are we wasting a year which she is putting up, second best points per game in the league. How are you still at the point where you're fighting for a playoff spot? It's just, there's so much confusing about the Lynx, or not the Lynx, the Aces this season. And then you think about the fact that they have traded away their first round draft picks for next year and the year after. So if the Aces don't make the playoffs, for what? For what?
Right.
So it's an interesting thing, and I mean, maybe they'll kind of have a good August and like September, like end of the season. But as of right now, I mean, you just look at them and you're like, it's like it's hard to continue coming up with like reasons. You're like, there's no reason that this should be happening.
Right. Well, and Asia has been playing fantastic since she's returned, and so if Asia stays healthy, I don't think you'll need to worry about the Aces missing the playoffs. But when you sort of run through those statistics and how the Lynx are, sort of tops everywhere, and including categories where they were tops last year and are even better this year. And I think that comes down to continuity. I question the fit of Jewel Lloyd sliding into the starting lineup in place of Kelsey Plum, who went to Los Angeles, not because I think one is better than the other, but they're different types of players. And the fit hasn't been great. The depth, as you mentioned, hasn't been great, and everyone else is a year older. Chelsea Gray has been one of the best players in the league for a long time. Lindsay Whalen was talking today about how when they play against Vegas, it gives her a chance to catch up with Chelsea Gray a little bit, and mention all the times she got mad at her for step backs that Chelsea Gray hit over Lindsay Whalen, and Lindsay retired after 2018, so the longevity with Chelsea is there, but I don't know. I think we've maybe just sort of seen the dominance of this team run its course, and there not enough improvements have been made around the margins to help Asia. So I'm not going to write off this team.
No, absolutely not.
But yeah, those concerns are all valid, especially trading future draft capital, especially when you think of, we don't know what's going on with the CBA. We don't know where players are going to sign next year. The spots of that first round draft pick, especially in 2027, isn't attached to anything. Like, this whole team could be different. So that's a risky move right there. And yeah, we'll see. But I certainly expect them to be a playoff team.
100. Yeah. It's weird because I'm looking at the standings and there's like 1.5 games between 6th and like 11th right now, which is wild. And it will come down to, a few games, but yeah, it's interesting to think about. And when you have someone like Asia Wilson, who is going to be a free agent this season and could be, like, any team she goes to automatically becomes a contender. Yeah. And so you think about the fact that there's all these new teams coming in. People are going to be throwing her the bag. People are going to be, she's going to be wined and dined. And if she feels like there's a situation out there that's better for her than Las Vegas is, and maybe there isn't, but maybe there is, then she leaves. And Vegas is just left with nothing. So it's an interesting thing to think about. And obviously, again, just another dynamic of this very strange year that we're in the WNBA when it comes to CBA negotiations and the free agency and all of that stuff. So it's something to keep note of. But I'm very interested to see how the Aces do in the next month and what their playoff kind of situation ends up looking like.
Right. And do they have any more first round draft picks to trade? We'll see.
We'll see what happens with them. But imagine, like, there is a scenario in which we get like a Minnesota Vegas or Minnesota New York first round series, which is wild.
Right. New York Vegas first round.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be,
or New York, or Minnesota Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, depending on.
I don't know how comfortable most Lynx fans would be with
that would be matchup. Wild.
Yeah, so
oh man,
I think most Lynx fans hoping to see the Vegas push to number 6, number 5.
Yes,
so.
Exactly. Oh, that would be
we'll see. It's compelling. I was taking a look at the full league standings recently and just like kind of doing way too early, playoff matchups.
Yes, exactly.
There's some fun ones.
I do that every day. It's like kind of a problem. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to preview the other games in the WNBA slate tonight on Friday. So stay tuned. This is Locked On Women's Basketball. All right, we are back. This is Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm Chelsea Leite, joined by Terry Horstman, and we just talked about the Lynx game tonight on Friday night. But there are other games. Other teams exist. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently.
Well, apparently. Who knows? But yeah, so Friday, July 29th, we have, of course, the Lynx and the Aces at 7:30. But we also have a very intriguing matchup between the Phoenix Mercury and the New York Liberty. They've been kind of flipping back and forth between second and third all season long. And so I'm excited to see that game. The only people on the injury report for New York is Naira Sabally, who is out with rest. And then you also have on the Phoenix Mercury side, this new dynamic where all of their stars have been playing together for the first time. You saw that the other day when they played their first game back from the All-Star break. So this is going to be like full power New York and full power Phoenix going at each other.
Yeah, it's a very, very exciting matchup. I'm a little annoyed that it is at the exact same time as the Lynx Aces game. Yep. WNBA schedule is going to WNBA schedule, I suppose. Because the Lynx are done with the Mercury this season. We've seen them play 4 times now, and Kalia Copper wasn't in any of those games. Satu missed a couple, and Bonner was there for the last 2. But yeah, so to see what the Mercury can look like in a game with all of their their full complement of high-end talent against the defending champs. So this is definitely something I'll have to record and
get back
watch after the team I cover is done, which is a perfect Friday.
Exactly.
We'll see. But it's potential. This game has semifinals matchup or finals matchup, written all over it. So definitely a good night of action here in the W. Definitely, if you got to have the 2 TV set up for tonight.
Oh,
so,
for
Lynx
sure.
Aces over here, Mercury Liberty over here.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I love the inflection of your voice when you were like, finals matchup. Maybe.
If Cheryl Reeves listening, and she's going to mark it down that I mentioned the finals without Minnesota Lynx in the same.
If Cheryl Reeves is listening to this podcast, first of all,
Cheryl sees and hears all. So
if Cheryl Reeves was listening to me talk about basketball, hi Cheryl, like what's good? You met me one time in Toronto. What's up? But I mean that. To me, I mean, first of all, Emma Miesemann, for anybody who is like curious, is not with the Liberty team yet. So she will not be playing in this. I just want to get that out there first and foremost. But you also have Jonquel Jones, who came back this week after about a month away, which is so big for the Liberty. I fully believe that if Jonquel Jones had been healthy this whole season, she would be in MVP talks, because that is just the impact that she has for this championship team. They are just so much better when she is on the floor. The offense running through her, she's so good defensively, and they just have like a big lineup between her, Stewie, Leonie Fiebich playing like that 3 position at 6'4", and then you have Tosh and Ionescu. And the big thing that's coming up with this team is like the chemistry has been so good, and that's something with Minnesota that we talk about a lot, how much their chemistry really pushes them forward in these big matchups. And I'm not saying that Phoenix doesn't have the chemistry. I'm like, they do, of course, like they have a great team, but something about this New York team has just been clicking over the past few weeks, whether it was them sweeping the All-Star skills and 3-point contests. I mean, I saw them all out last night at pottery. They were doing pottery, and it was just
the pottery thing that it took over our Slack channel.
Yes, pottery. And so I'm curious to see how they go into this next month, because just as important as it is for Minnesota, it's extremely important for teams like Phoenix and New York to solidify their place in. I mean, they're fighting for that 2nd seed and even trying to surpass the Lynx to get into the 1st seed. So August is going to be a crazy month for that.
All right, New York only at the moment 2 games behind the Lynx in the loss column. Lynx have played 3 games total more than the Liberty, but so if those the loss column stays similar, it's going to be a pretty intriguing fight to the finish as we race towards the end of the regular season, which will be here before you know it.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like huge stakes going into every single game for the next month. But I want to quickly touch on our last game of the night, which is what I'm calling the youth movement, I guess, which is Dallas versus the Golden State Valkyries. Of course, Paige Becker's going to Paige Beckers. She has yet to score, and I keep saying this in every podcast that I've done this week, but she has yet to score less than 10 points in a game since she's obviously this is her first season. So in her career, yeah, in every game that she has stepped on the floor, she has scored at least 10 points, which, I mean, she's the factor for that team. And I do think, despite the fact that they're going into Ball Hollow, which is one of the most, like, intense home court advantages in the league now, I do think that Dallas maybe has a chance to get the win. They got that win the other night against Seattle, and that was huge in terms of their confidence and momentum. And then the Valkyries have Kayla Thornton out, so that is rough for them. So I do think Dallas could come in and steal this game from the Valkyries. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, I don't think I was more disappointed by injury report than seeing Kayla Thornton names on there, because she's just been such a great story this year, getting a well-deserved and long-awaited all-star nod. So you hate to see KT out of the lineup. But yeah, this definitely is a game for the taking. I think Dallas has looked a lot better in stretches, even in a lot of the games that they lost. They dropped the last few before the all-star break. And I know Chris Koklanis is under fire a little bit, but I do think that the on-court product has improved significantly. Paige Beckers has a lot to do with that when Paige is in there. But yeah, I think Dallas is going to steal this one. If you didn't ask for a prediction, but I'm giving you one. So,
no, I predicted it too. So that is our prediction.
I think we can. There's definitely a path for it, and just you're not gonna get any kind of negative Paige take out of this Minnesotan. So
there you go.
I think
True.
Dallas gets a dub tonight.
Perfect. And I mean, the Locked On people will be able to see your face a lot coming up. Yeah. You have a new Monday show coming out, the Lynx Report. And so if you're watching this and you're a Minnesota Lynx person, make sure to check on Locked On Women's Basketball on Mondays going forward. Terry's going to be out here talking about the Lynx.
For better or worse.
For better or for worse, as well as continuing on the next Minnesota beat as well. But thank you so much for coming to join me today. I know it's a busy day being a home game, and I appreciate that.
Thank you for having me, Chelsea. It's been fun.
No worries. Thank you so much for watching. This is Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm Chelsea Leite, and we will see you next time.